All right, guys, welcome back for this new video where today we are going to create an entire authentication system using Flutter, BLoC, and Firebase. So I know I've already created an entire series where we were creating InstaX. I don't know if you've seen all of those videos, and I've covered Firebase authentication in this series, but it was less popular on the channel, and I see that this format you really guys enjoy. So again, I have my coffee on the left, and we're just gonna code it together along, and I hope you enjoy. And it's a really important thing because I intend to do more, let's say, complex project that requires authentication. And well, in order for us to have the same base level to tackle those bigger projects, I thought, right, so let's create a dedicated video for it. And the next videos we can create, I don't know, a social media, like recreate Instagram, recreate your favorite apps. You just tell me in the comments. For now, I really urge you guys to subscribe if you like the channel and to leave a like under this video. It really helps me out, and yeah, it really encourages me. And you've been amazing in the comment section. I've received so many messages of encouragement, so I just wanted to like thank you again in person. And yeah, well, it's amazing the community we are creating together. I'll shut up and we'll start building this app. So you see the design right here. So the goal is to have this kind of a welcome screen where we can either sign in or sign up directly there, okay, with a little forget password screen. So I've actually prepared a little bit. So I've created the project. So it's just a blank Flutter project, so nothing really to it. And for this video, we'll need actually to create a new Firebase project. So you need to navigate to your Firebase console and create a new project. And basically, we'll use Firebase Authentication for this project. And we'll as well use Firestore database because it's not only a good thing to create the user in the authentication services, but we want as well to store it inside our database to be able to use it later on, right? And so we'll cover both in the same video. It's really not difficult to understand, really. So yeah, just I'm activating the two services, and you see here I have a list of package that we'll need to use. I mean, it's a pretty long list, but as well, it's not that long. So yeah, so we have the Firestore created and the authentication created as well. So for the authentication, you'd need to navigate onto the sign-in method, and you'd see by default there is the anonymous provider that is enabled, but we want to say email and password and enable that and save that. Perhaps if you want, I've seen a comment asking me to cover the phone sign-in method. Perhaps I will cover that in a second video if I see in the comments that you want to see that. That's no problem. But for now, we'll just keep it simple with email and password. So that's pretty much it for the Firebase project. I've already linked the Firebase project to my Flutter project. If you don't know how to do that, there is a dedicated video on my channel to do just that. So just go watch that and come back later on. But basically, they give you the steps in Firebase. And for iOS, you just have to import this Google service -info.list file inside there. And that's pretty much it. So, okay, let's start with the project, right? So I think the first thing that we need to do is actually import the different dependencies that we'll need inside our pass.YAML file and create the app structure. So the dependencies, so if I open this package tab that I've created, you'd see that we'll need Firebase Core, Firebase Authentication, Cloud Firestore. So far makes sense because those are the services that we've enabled in Firebase. We as well need BLoC, Flutter BLoC, Equitable, which is working with BLoC. It just allows you to compare objects. That's pretty cool with the double equal operator. You see it says like right here. And then Cupertino icons as well. So, okay, so that's the packages that we'll need. So first, let's create let's create first the kind of app structure that we'll need. So I like to have under the lib folder everything that's related to the UI as well as my blocks, and I have my all the like backend type of stuff in a separated package. So I want to create a new folder on my root and I call it packages. Okay, I call that packages, and under packages, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call that user repository. Okay. And I've had some requests onto a video to the app structure. So for you guys that requested the app structure video, that's the beginning of it. So bear with me right here. So under the user repository, what I want to do actually is create a new file and a new perspect.yaml file, right? So we, in the end, have two perspect.yaml file, one under the user repository and our main one, okay? So inside our perspect.yaml file, I want to add a few different stuff. So that's not test extension here, but we'll call that user repository. Okay, the repo that handles users. Okay, publish to none, that's all right. Then we'll baste ourselves, I can close that, sorry. We'll baste ourselves into the environment and all of this. I can actually copy all that. And I mean, I can as well copy that up. And I will paste that right here. Save that. And normally that will generate some files. Well, that's exactly what it's doing. Perfect. And now under this perspect.yaml file, under this user repository, I actually want to create a few files. So I want first to create a lib folder. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Up folder, lib folder. Okay, so I have this lib folder, and under this lib folder, I want to create a few things. I want to create a new folder that it's called source, and I want to create a user repository file. User repository dot dart. Okay, so see this, the structure, we have the lib folder, and under the lib folder, I have a source folder and the user repository.dart. Okay, don't concern yourself with what those files are for right now. I'll cover that in just a minute. So under the source folder, I actually want to create a few stuff. So I want to create the first folder that I'll call entities, and I want to create another folder that I'll call models. Okay, so there are two folders, entities and models. Okay, and now I want to create two files, a file that I'll call user repo.dart, for example, and another file I'll call Firebase user repo.dart. Okay, so the file structure for this package is done. Okay, so again, if I collapse everything, under packages, I have a user repository that has a perspect.yaml file. Okay, so it's its own perspect.yaml file, and that's pretty cool because in the user repository, I might need some like packages that I don't need inside my main perspect.yaml file, more front-end perspect.yaml file. So like for instance, the Firebase Authentication package, I only need the package here in user repository because it's inside here that will create our classes, that will create all the calls to the backend. So yeah, pretty cool. So under this user repository, I have a lib folder with a user repository.dart, a source folder, entities, models, Firebase user repository, and user repository. So under models, I'll create two files. A first file that I'll call models.dart and another file that I'll call user.dart. Okay. Under entities, I'll call entities, I'll create entities.dart, and I will create user entity.dart. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So this is where we're going to create our classes, right? Our user classes. Side note, your user class, you want to call it my user or something different than user because the Firebase Authentication class is called user. So then you'd have some conflict. You can modify it in your import, but that's easier to just call it my user. Okay, so now let's start actually to create those files themselves. So perhaps we can start with the user class, okay? So let's start with the user class. So it's gonna be a very simple class, okay? So class my user, okay? And I'm gonna extend a quotable on that. And I'm gonna need to import the package on the prospect.yaml file. Yes, here. Okay, let's navigate to the web and take the equatable. Just gonna copy that, go back to the prospect.yaml file, and under dependencies, save my equatable package right there. And just by saving it, it will create a Flutter pub get, and I will be able to use it here. Okay, so that is very big. You can go now. Okay, so a few parameters that we'll need for our my user class. So first, for instance, every time you want to have an ID, okay, the ID of the user, but it doesn't really matter the class that you're creating. You always want to have the ID, okay? So I have the ID, then I want to have another string, not an e string, doesn't exist, but a string that's gonna be the email. I want to have another string that's gonna be the name, perhaps, and I think that's it for this. Yeah, that's it for this user, and that's enough. You can add different parameters if you want, but for instance, that's gonna be enough. Okay, so now let's create our constructor. Okay, the my user constructor. I like to make it like this, so I know when I'm instantiating my class which parameter is what, okay? So you need to have the required keyword there as well. It's because I'm using curly brackets. If you're using curly brackets, when you are calling the constructor, you will need to say user ID dot, well, column, double dot is equal to that. If you remove the curly braces, you just pass the parameter along for the object that you want to create. That makes it just a little bit more clear, and it as well make them, let's say, optional if you don't have the required parameter right here. Perhaps I'll go in more detail about all this. So let's just finish off this constructor. I'm really coding along with you guys. Like I could copy paste some code that I already have, but I don't think it's really a good thing here. So because we're instantiating equatable, we need this props method to override, okay? And this prop method is just waiting actually for an array of the parameter of the class. So I'm just going to give it to him right like this. Okay, so under our constructor, a few things we want to say. So we want to create an empty method, okay? So let's make that static constant, and let's say empty is equal to my user. And see, that's exactly what I said earlier. Because my constructor uses curly brackets, I have those parameters and with the column and the actual parameter itself, right? If I didn't have those curly brackets here, I wouldn't have that. I would have just pasted the parameters that I want, that I need. But if you are like having a lot of like the same type of parameters, that can be confusing at times. See here, it's all strings. So if I pass first the email instead of passing the user ID, it's not going to make any errors, but it's actually going to break everything. So yeah, it's more clear. So that's your goal in the end, to be more clear when you're coding. So yeah, let's create a copy with method, because we've said that all of our fields are final. So because all of our fields are final, we'll actually need to create a copy with method if we want to to modify those fields, right? So let me just take that up, string, and here with the copy with method, you want them to be potentially null, right? Because well, you're gonna see in the method itself, but we are returning a my user, right? And here we're gonna say, right, so if inside the copy with method was passed the user ID, for instance, I'm gonna take the user ID parameter, but if the user ID is null, well, I'm gonna take the, not the email, but the user ID I already have in my object, okay? And we want to do that with every parameter. Using the this is referring to the current object that we have, okay? So yeah, pretty straightforward. That's done for the copy with method, okay? Now we want to create another two methods that are going to be essential. You could, if you want, create the from JSON or from document and to document or to JSON method inside your user class. I like to separate them. That's what the user entity is for. I think it's just like more clear overall. So here it's going to be a my user entity. Okay, it's going to be an error because we didn't created the my user entity class, but we'll just do that after. Okay, and here we're just going to return a my user entity. So again, that's okay if there is an error. We didn't create it yet, the class itself, but we'll do that just after that. And well, basically, we can take, let me take just that and paste that right here. And instead of having, sorry, up, up, okay, good. So that's exactly what we want right there. So my user entity and fit it with the parameters that we have. Perfect. Now we want a from entity. Okay, so the to entity is going to convert the my user object to a my user entity object. Okay, and the from entity is going to convert a my user entity object to a my user object. Okay, very simple. And why would you want to convert your my user object to a my user entity object? Well, for instance, to send data to the database, because you can't send objects to Firebase. You need to send a map, okay? And the my user entity is going to do just that. So now the last method, as I told you, from entity, it's going to convert a my user entity. So it's going to take a my user entity parameter as the parameter, okay? And it's going to return a my user. I hope you've said it. That means that you are following along with me and I'm just not talking to myself. So that's pretty good. And here, instead of just returning the parameters, we want to access the entity dot user ID, email, and name. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it for the my user class. So let's jump onto the user entity, okay? And we are going to create the user entity. So class my user entity. And here we'll need to create a few methods, okay? So let's extend that as well from a quotable, even though you don't need it. But let's make it that way so it's consistent. Again, up, that's an array. Tell me in the comments if I'm moving too fast for you guys. I hope I am not, but yeah, tell me in the comments if I'm moving too fast. So the user entity is going to take the same parameters of our my user class, sorry, and I can even take the constructor of my user and paste it right here and just replace my user by a my user entity. Okay. And here I just want to add the class parameters. So let me just do that, email and name. Okay. Okay, good. So now here, really straightforward, I'm gonna create two methods and they are gonna be to documents and from document. So a to document method, well, the goal is to return a map string, okay, object like this, right? To document. And what is it going to do? Well, it's going to return a map, obviously. That's what it says just up there, okay? And now what do we want? We want our class parameters, okay? So exactly that, sorry, up. Trying to gain some times, but often you try to gain some time and you are actually losing time. Yeah, like this, okay. So that's exactly what we want right here. So we want to return a map of our parameter. And this is what is going to go inside Firestore, okay, inside our database, because we can't send object, right? So we are just transforming our object onto a map, okay? Very straightforward. And now we want to be able to get the map from the database and transform it to a myUserEntity object, okay? So let's create the from document method, right? So it's a myUserEntity from document. And this takes a map, yes, string, and you want to make that dynamic because, right, so Firestore is sending you some dynamic stuff, and well, that just makes it a lot easier to say dynamic. You're gonna have types problem if you don't say that. That's fine. And then you want to return a myUserEntity, okay? And after we have made it a little bit more beautiful, here, what do we want to say? Well, it's not the user because we have a map, right? So we want to access the map itself and the user ID parameter from the map, okay? So let's copy that and paste that and apply it to every parameter like this. Save that, and we're pretty much done. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we have myUserEntity, that's done. That's taken care of. And now inside the entities file, I want to export userEntity.dart. Okay, I want to do the same inside the models. I'm going to export users.dart, save that. And here inside the user.dart, I'm going to import entities right here. Okay, done. We have our class parameters. We have our user class parameter, which is amazing, right? Okay, so we can close that, that, and that. So now let's focus on to the user repository, user repo first, user repo right here. So we have those two files right here, user repo and Firebase user repo. And you're going to understand why, because here it's under user repo.dart, I'm going to create an abstract class, okay, that I'm going to call perhaps user repository. Okay. And this class, because it's abstract, cannot be instantiated on its own, right? You need another class that is gonna implement this abstract user repository class, okay? So inside our lib folder in our blocks, for instance, we're gonna require a user repository parameter, right? But we can't pass the user repository just like this. We can't say that. We will have to say another thing, okay? And we'll come to that later on. Sorry for the noise that my computer made. So now I want to create a few methods. So what do I want? I want to create all that. So I want to create a stream of user, okay? I want to create as well sign up. So let's import models. Yep. So I want to create sign up, set user data, and sign in, okay? And as well want a stream of user. And that's what I told you earlier. It's here, user, I'm referring to the Firebase Authentication class, not the class that we've created. So because I'm referring to the Firebase Authentication class, I need to import the package. So Firebase Authentication under the prospect.yaml file from the user repository, okay? I'm gonna import Firebase Authentication. Up, and here I'm gonna import it. That's it, done. I can save that. So now for the user repository, we can create a lot more like methods here, like logout, reset password, get my user, upload picture, everything that's going to deal with the user, it's going to be created here. But you see here, we are only creating like, let's say, those abstract methods because we're not implementing those methods. So we are going to implement those methods under the Firebase user repo. So let's create the Firebase user repo. And this is going to implement user repository. Okay, perfect. And here you see there is an error. Why there is an error? Because we've created methods inside the user repo and we need to override those methods. By just clicking on that, they've created our methods, all of them, okay? So I'm just gonna shuffle them around because I want that to be at the very top. So a stream of user, be able to get our user, set user data, sign in, sign up, okay? Very straightforward. So let me shuffle that again. I want to have the set user data at the bottom. Okay, like this. Perfect. So those methods, are we going to create them right now? Yes, we are. Okay, so let's first create our class parameters. Okay, we're going to need here a Firebase Authentication parameter. Okay, and we need then to create a constructor for our class. So let's say constant, perhaps Firebase user repo, and up like this. And I'm gonna say Firebase auth. So I'm requesting a Firebase auth parameter from my constructor, and here I'm gonna set our private. If you do that, it means that the parameter is private. So it's only accessible inside this class, right? Inside here. That's what you want, only here. And I'm gonna set our Firebase authentication to the one that was passed directly inside the constructor. And if not, I'm gonna say that it's equal to Firebase auth dot instance. Perfect. Like this. Is there some kind of problem? Why aren't you happy? Invalid constant value. My bad. Of course, that's not constant. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. So now we have this constructor that is all done. I want to create one more class parameter, which is going to be this Firebase Firestore instance of collection. Okay, our user collection. Okay, so for that, I'm gonna need to import Cloud Firestore. So up inside prospect.yaml file, under that Cloud Firestore. Okay, perfect. Now that it's done, I can import it directly here. Good. And you can close yourself. So yeah, so it's imported right here. So let's create our stream of user, right? First, so let's create the stream of user. So what do you want to do here? So instead of throwing an error like a jackass, let's create actually something that makes sense. So we want to return a stream of user, of Firebase Authentication user, not our user, the Firebase Auth user. So for that, we're just going to say return, access our Firebase Authentication user, and access the method auth state changes. Okay, this is going to be triggered every time that there is a change in the user. Either the user is authenticated or it's not. Okay, so here I'm going to say Firebase user, so you have a better understanding of what it does. Okay, and here up, let me go to the line so we see good. What do we want to do? We want to find to just return our Firebase user. As simple as that. So what this method does, notifies about changes to the user sign-in state, such as sign in or sign out. So every time that the user is sign in, this stream is going to be triggered, okay, with a user, okay, and we're going to take this user and then ask our Cloud Firestore to give us the real data that we have stored from the account creation of the user, okay. So that's done for the stream of user. Now we want to create the sign-in method. Very straightforward. The sign-in method, you'll see, very straightforward. I like to wrap everything inside a try-catch, okay, and log the errors if there is a problem. So you need to import Dart developer, okay, and if there is an error, I'm gonna rethrow it because it's gonna be catched inside our BLoC later on. So here it's actually, because the future needs to be asynchronous, right? And here I want to say await Firebase auth dot, well, sign in with email and password, and pass the email and the password that I have inside here. Okay, very straightforward. And guess what? It's done for the sign-in method. That was not too hard, was it? So now let's create the sign-up method. So the sign-up method as well, same deal. Okay, try catch with the log and rethrow. So let me just copy that and paste them. Well, it's going to be the same here. It's going to be more user credentials. Okay, user is equal to Firebase Auth dot create user with email and password. We really thanks the packages creators for the name of the methods that are really straightforward. And here I want to say not email and password, but here you see I'm having my user object passed here. So I'm gonna say my user dot email, okay? And it's that because it needs a wait. Okay, so yeah, create email, create user with email and password. Okay, passing him the email that I have stored onto my user here, and the password as well, because I'm not storing the password inside the class itself. I could, but I won't. So yeah, then it's just disappearing, and that's better for everyone. I'm actually here returning a my user because I want to get, and that's why I'm doing that right here. When I'm signing up, I want to get the user ID that I get from this user. This user credential. The ID is inside that. So after that, I want to say that my user, okay, is equal to my user dot copy with, and I want to access the user ID and say that is equal to user. So this user right here, okay, user dot UID, like this. And I actually need that. Perfect. And that's really it. Perhaps I want to return my user. Okay, and that's what we've created inside our my user class, right? The copy with method that takes the 3 parameters optional, because the email I already have, the name I already have. This is going to be triggered when you click on the sign up. Okay, I have already inside this object the email, the name. I don't have the user ID because the user ID comes from Firebase. Okay, it's here, it's inside that. Okay, so I pass it inside the sign up method my user. I get the ID from Firebase after having created my user. I copy my object, my user object with the right ID, okay? And I return the updated my user object, okay? Very straightforward. And because this is gonna be a changing of the status of the authentication of the user, our string is gonna be triggered and you're gonna be logged in, okay? Very straightforward. And the last method we want to use is create the set user data. I promise you, after that, we're done with the backend. Everything is created and we're going to create the UI. So don't worry, don't hate me. But if you want to create apps, guys, the UI is a good thing. It's pretty. We can create a lot of stuff with Flutter, but you'll need to spend a lot of time doing those backend calls. And I'd say you'd spend more time here than you'd actually spend on the backend, on the front end. Firebase Authentication and absolutely not. We are creating set user data. So sorry, I am talking and I'm not thinking. So I want to access our user collection parameter. Remember the very top user collection is just referring our users collection inside our Firebase Firestore, our database this time. And here I want to say .document, okay, my user dot, why? Because it's called user here. I'm gonna keep it consistent, otherwise I'm gonna lost you guys. So it's my user dot user ID dot set, because I'm setting data, okay? And here I'm gonna say my user, okay? And well, you might think, right, so I'm just giving my user here, but here in the set method, you'd see that it takes a map, okay? It takes a map, it doesn't take an object. And we have here a my user object. It's a my user object here. But remember, we have created some method. We have creating the toEntity method inside our myUser class, okay? But still, that's not it, because this is a myUser entity now, okay? This is we've converted our myUser object into a myUser entity object. But remember, inside the myUser entity, we've created the toDocument method. And if we access that, that's exactly what we want, because the toDocument is just creating a map. So that's it, straightforward. And that's pretty much it. Okay, can save that. And that's it for the Firebase user repository for now, at least. So what we can do is actually start working onto the app structure inside the lib folder. So let me close all of them, collapse it all. And now let's navigate onto the lib folder. So under the lib folder, a few different things are going to happen, okay? Because right now we only have a main.dart file, and I'm not going to lie, that's not very well separated. So inside our main.dart file, I'm going to go ahead and delete that, okay? So a few things we want to make sure. So first, we want to say to ensure that everything is well initialized, okay? And because we're using Firebase, we want to say that Firebase is initialized. But if we want to say that, we actually need to make our main function asynchronous. But we can't just call Firebase like this, because this is from Firebase core. So up again on the left, Firebase core, taking the dependency, navigating back to the project, and under our main prospect.yaml file, okay, I'm gonna import Firebase core. As easy as that. And here, I'm gonna import it. That's it. And then I'm gonna create a new file under the lib folder that I'm gonna call app.dart. And because I'm shooting ahead, I'm gonna create another file that is called appview.dart. Okay, we have all of our file for that. So here under the app.dart, I want to create a stateless widget that I'm going to call my app. Okay, I'm going to save that, and under the main.dart, I can actually call my app. Okay, it's perfect. Yes, perfect. So my app right here. So my app is going to take a class parameter, okay, a widget parameter that's going to be a user repository. So I need to import user repository, but I can't. Well, makes sense. Navigate to your prospect.yaml file, and under the dependencies here, I'm going to actually import the dependency that we have created. So I'm going to call that user underscore repository, okay, column, and I'm going to give it the path that it's packages slash user repository. Save that. He's happy. He's happy. He's not happy. Because Firebase Auth depends on user repository from path, which depends on is required. What did I do? So perhaps I saved that as well. Run pub.get. Can I import it now? No, there is a problem. There is apparently a problem with Firebase authentication. Yeah. 0 points. Let's make that 0, 1. Save that 0, 0, 1. And run pub.get. I will be back, guys. I'm just fixing that. All right, I've managed to make it work. Don't ask me why, but apparently inside your prospect.yaml file under the user repository, just comment the Firebase authentication, run the pub.get, and then you can run the pub.get inside your main prospect.yaml file, and it will work. So yeah, don't ask me why. It's just sometimes software development is kind of a mystery. But we forgot, I saw that under our user repository, we need to populate the user repository.dart file, right? So let's do that right now because we can't import anything if we didn't populate this file. So here we want to say library user repository. And here we want to export the important files. So we want to export source slash entities.dart, export source slash models.dart. We as well want to export source slash, user repo.dart and export source slash Firebase user repo. Save that. And now inside our app.dart, we can import user repository.dart. Yay! Okay, good. So I actually want to add the user repo to this constructor. Okay, save that. So now I want to not give a placeholder here, but I want to wrap the placeholder with a BLoC provider. Okay, BLoC provider of type. Well, I don't know if I go directly there or we create the BLoC. No, yeah. Let's just stay like this and we'll actually create the BLoC because first we need to create it. But now let's navigate to our main.dart file, and here we want to pass a Firebase user repo object. Okay, perfect. So now we are going to create the rest of the structure because we can't move forward if we don't have the rest of the structure. So we are going to create under the lib folder. There is now like two different kind of architecture to go for. Okay, I will go with the simpler one. So let's create a folder that we're going to call screens, and let's create another folder that we're going to call blocks. Okay, that's it. So now it's the time where I actually want to create my blocks. To create my blocks, I'm gonna need to import the packages. So the BLoC package, let me close the package here. So under perspect.yaml file, I want to import the BLoC. I want to import Flutter block, okay, and I want to import equatable, okay, like this. And now that I'm with it, yeah, okay, save that. Run a pub-get, close the perspect.yaml file, and here under my block, I'm gonna create the authentication block. Okay, so I'm gonna create actually like 4 blocks. Okay, so the first block, and here I'm just right clicking on the folder and I have this block new block because I have the extension that it's called BLoC, this one. Okay, you should clearly download this extension. It will save you a lot of time because I just have to click on the BLoC folder and say new block. I'm gonna call that authentication, press enter, and you see it's automatically creating an authentication block for me. Just gonna rename it authentication block. So let's create all of them. So again, on block, new block, I'm gonna create a sign in block. Okay, it disappeared, it's here. Okay, sign in block. Let's rename that sign in block. I'm gonna create a new block that's gonna be called sign up. Okay, sign up block, it's here. Let's rename it sign up block. And another block that we are gonna call my user. Okay, so that's all of the blocks that we'll need for this authentication. Okay, mainly these 3, and the my user block will be to feed the actual app with the user data that we have. So let's create the most important one that is going to be, I mean, they're all very important. Huh? So let's create the authentication block perhaps first. Okay. So what I like to do is open those 3 files and work my way one by one. So first, let's create the events. So what we're gonna have here is just gonna be another class that's gonna be called, let's say, authentication user changed, okay? And this is gonna extend, well, if I can write good, authentication event, okay? That's how BLoC works. And now here, I just want to take create a class parameter that is gonna be a user, okay? And here is a Firebase authentication user, okay? It's not our my user. So what I want to do is actually import the Firebase authentication as well on my main prospect.yaml file right here. So that's what I've done. Perfect. What? A package may not list itself as a dependency. I don't understand why is there a problem with this package. It's really breaking my ass. Because if I go back, yeah, it didn't work. Okay. Why not? Let me try to tweak this around. Okay. I will be back. All right, I've discovered what happened and never happened to me because my name project was Firebase Auth, okay? It cannot be as well inside the dependencies as a package, right? Funny. So I've just changed the name to Firebase Auth YouTube and it works. Wow, I'm getting emails like crazy. I am so sorry. So yeah, that's done. So you shouldn't have any problem if you just don't call your project like a package or just rename it. Okay. So I've actually imported the user here. I'm gonna make it so it can be null. And now I'm gonna create the constructor. So authentication user change, authentication user changed. And I'm gonna pass this dot user. Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna as well create, well, no, yeah, that's it. Okay, perfect. So now let's create the state. So the state, by default, you get those kind of class by BLoC, okay? And you have actually two ways to really handle the classes, the state classes. You can go like this, but for this authentication, I like to go with another model. So I'm just gonna delete that and create first an enumeration, okay? That I'm gonna call authentication stages. And here I'm going to say authenticated, unauthenticated, and unknown. Right. So these are the stages that my app can be, the user can be in, right? It can either be authenticated, unauthenticated, or I don't know. Under that, I'm going to create a class that I'm going to call authentication state. Makes sense? It's going to extend equatable. Okay, and here we have different class parameters. We have one class parameter that is going to be a final authentication stages that we've created. Okay, we're going to call that stages, and we're going to have final user or Firebase authentication user. Okay, so inside our constructor, we want to authentication state. Okay, so let's use this typology right here. We want to affect this dot stages to authentication stages dot unknown. Sorry, I don't know how to write unknown. Perfect. By default, that's what we are creating right here with this. And then we're gonna say this dot user. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay, good. We have what we need. Now we are going to create the unknown, authenticated, and unauthenticated. So, constant authentication, authentication state dot unknown, and this is going to be returning our constructor. This is just going to return our constructor right here, and that's what it says. Now let's create the authenticated. So authentication state dot authenticated. Perfect. English is not my mother tongue, guys, so be kind on me, okay? So the Firebase, Firebase authentication type of user, and I'm just gonna call my constructor right here, private constructor, and pass the stages. Perhaps I can go here so you see better. Authentication stages, it right here, dot authenticated, and I'm gonna give it my user and user that we've passed right here, okay? Okay, good. Authenticated is done. And now unauthenticated, well, we can just take that and copy that, and let's here unauthenticated. We don't need a parameter for this because, well, we're unauthenticated, and we don't need then the user. Well, that's pretty much it. We have an error because we are needing these props from a quotable in order to compare. So that's the stages, and that's the user that we need. And that's it for the state. Okay, let me show you again. We have our different stages right here as an enumeration, and then we have our authentication state class, really, that's dealing with the unknown, authenticated, and unauthenticated. Okay, perfect. Now let's create the BLoC. So now the BLoC, it's where it's going to get a little bit complicated because, well, we've changed a lot of different stuff. So before we deal with that, let's create the class parameters. So we need a user repository parameter. We as well need a stream subscription. Why? Because remember in the backend, we've created the getter for getting our Firebase authentication user state, okay? And it was a stream, so we need to listen to that stream. We're just gonna say late because we're gonna instantiate it inside the constructor. Stream subscription of type user, okay? That can be null as well. And we're just going to call that user subscription. Okay, so for our class parameter, that's good. Now the constructor, it's right here. So here we are requiring our user repository, right? But we can directly affect this to our user repo. Required user repo. Yep, that's it. Okay, perfect. And then here, because we've changed the state class, we need to say that it's not going to be that, but authentication state dot unknown. Perfect. And here we want to say so unknown like this, and let me delete that. And here we're going to say that the user subscription is equal to user repository dot user. That's the stream that we've created, okay? The stream that we've created. Dot listen up. And here it's not like it's an event of type user, okay? So I'm just gonna call that user. And we wanna add a new event that's gonna be authentication user change and pass it with the user, okay? That's it. Very straightforward. So now we want to create those, what's going to happen if this authentication user change is triggered, right? So here on authentication user change. And what do we want to do? Well, we want to say, if event.user is different than null, we want to say what? We want to emit a new state, authentication state dot authenticated, and give him the event dot user. Okay. And if it's not null, if it's null, sorry, we want to emit not authenticated, but unauthenticated, and that doesn't take any parameter. We can make that a constant, okay? So that's perfect. That's exactly what we need right here. And perhaps I will call the close function as well right under that. Okay, so we cancel the subscription when the block is closed. What's exactly what we need. So the authentication block is done as is, and that's pretty cool. Now we are going to perhaps create our app.dart. Okay, so here app.dart. Wait, I'll come back, guys. Sorry, I had a fly. So app.dart file. So here, well, we don't want to return a placeholder, do we? I've talked to you about the block provider, so it's time to make it. The block provider is going to be authentication block. Okay, so you need to precise the type right here, and we need to import Flutter block as well. Our authentication block takes a user repository right here, and we're just going to give him what we have from our class parameter right here. And we are not returning a placeholder. We are actually going to return my app view, which is here. But we need to create that. So save that. Let me just close everything. So we have app.dart, and now let's create the appview.dart. So let's create a stateless widget. Stateless widget, my app view. And here we are returning a material app because we need a material app. Okay. The material app, so the title, for instance, is going to be, Firebase Auth. Yeah, that work. We're going to go over the themes and all this later, but perhaps just for now, let's create home with a container. Okay. That's it. That will be fine for now. So inside our app.dart, instead of returning a placeholder, we're going to return my app view. Okay, good. Perfect. So now, why is it not happy? Yeah, because I've changed the name. Sorry. Okay, good. Let me run this. Perhaps I forgot some stuff onto the main. I forgot some stuff. No, I just have this file that we can copy right here. It's called simple-block-observer.dart. It's just when we have on create, on event, on change, it's going to show us in the log. Okay, it's just this file. So yeah, you can pause the video and actually write it yourself, or it's in the GitHub if you want it. But yeah, I'm just going to add that. And so here in my main.dart file, I need to instantiate that perhaps after that and import it. Okay. Save it. Is everything running smoothly? Yes, it is. So that's good. So what we want to do, so the app first is going to trigger the main.dart file. We're going to do all this, and then it's going to go to my app. So my app is that, okay? So it's going to open this authentication block, right? Which has a stream. So it's going to all the time be, because it's at the root of the app, looking if our user is authenticated or not, okay? And return the app view. The app view is right here, okay? And we need now to tell the app view, right? So if I have a user, if I'm authenticated, I want a screen, and if I'm not authenticated, I want you to return that screen. So that's what we're going to do in the home screen now. So we are going to use a block builder this time, okay? Good. And this block builder is going to be of type authentication block, authentication state. So the builder itself takes the context and says is equal to, and this is because we're using a quotable that we can do that, okay? is equal to authentication status dot authenticated. Well, I want to return the home screen. Okay, return home screen that we didn't create it, but we'll create that. But I will be and I'm okay under create file. Let's gonna be a or well file for now. We are busy so we'll come back to you when my phone, my emulator decide to build. Okay, the app finally decided to build, and as you can see, we messed something up because we are in, and we shouldn't be in, because if it's authenticated, we're in. So let me check what is wrong. So, and we're gonna check together. I told you guys, I'm building along with you, so it's really we're in this together. Let's take it from the beginning. So we have our main.dart, then we're going to our app.dart file, which is fine. Here I'm giving him a BLoC provider, but actually I don't want a BLoC provider. I want a repository provider right here. Okay, so the repository provider is going to provide this BLoC throughout the entire app, through the entire app. So perhaps that was the problem. I don't think it was, but yeah. Ah, something is different. I think it was just a matter of rebuilding it. Welcome screen. If I change the background colors to say colors.red, no, we have a different problem. Okay, so now there is more problems because we are not actually triggering the BLoC anymore. Okay, that's a problem with the BLoC itself for sure. So let's review our BLoC. Let me close all that. BLoCs, authentication BLoC, event, BLoC, and state. Okay, let's start with the event. So we have created our our authentication user change that takes a user from Firebase Authentication. Fair enough, that's good. Then let's see our state. So our state, we have authentication stages. Okay, that's fine. Authenticated, unauthenticated, and unknown. Okay. We have our parameters that are right here. Okay. So perhaps if I move that, because I know sometimes this can be a bit, but I don't think it will change a thing. But yeah, let's see. Move then at the bottom, yeah, change nothing. So the stages first is unknown, that's fair, okay. Then for the unknown, that's good. For the authenticated, we are giving him that, so that's fine. And unauthenticated is, yeah, okay. Yeah, makes more sense. So now unauthenticated returns an authenticated state. Okay, well, better. You might have caught that before me. So here my question is, why is this not, the block is not triggered right here? So let's review that. So we have our class parameters that are right here. My user repository, okay. So first the state is unknown, that makes sense. And then we subscribe to our user and listen to it and add the new authentication user change right there, okay? Passing him the Firebase Authentication user. So that's gonna trigger this part, right? Authentication user change, okay? And here we are saying what? We are saying if the user is different than null, we return authenticated. Otherwise, we return unauthenticated. Well, that sounds pretty good to me. So now the getter is the only thing that I see not working. So we are expecting a stream of user type. Yes, so far I agree. Firebase authentication dot auth state changes dot map. Take our Firebase. Yes. That should work. That should work. But I don't understand why it's not even triggered. Let me rebuild this. Perhaps that's the answer. Let me investigate, guys, and I'll come back to you. Well, sometime it's just a matter of rebuilding it because everything is working perfectly. See, in the welcome screen.dart, we have a background that is red, and so that works perfect. And see here, authentications, the unknown. Now we are unauthenticated, so we are in the right place. So see, sometimes when something's not working, just close it and reopen it. And well, that worked because we've made it so it works. So now let's go on to the last part of the app, which is actually building our welcome screen right here, okay? So different kind of stuff. Remember, we want to create something like this for a UI, okay? So to do just that, we are gonna need a tab controller. So under that, let's create a tab controller. I'm saying that it's gonna be initialized later because I'm gonna initialize it right now. So a tab controller works, it works with a tab controller, and you need to say like how many tabs you're gonna have, right? So here we're gonna have 2 tabs. So we need to say that. Okay, so the length is gonna be 2. We're gonna say that the initial index is gonna be 0. So we want to say that first we want to sign in. And the vsync here, I'm just gonna say this, and here I'm gonna say with ticker provider state mixing. Okay, that's a thing you need to add in order for yeah, well, you can read the animation, but for the animation to work. Okay, just save that. It's not gonna change a thing. So now let's create the UI. Okay, so we have our scaffold right here. Let me close that. We have our scaffold. So before we do anything, I'd like to create some colors. Yes. Let's go on to the app view. Here you have a parameter that's called theme, okay? Theme, and here we're gonna say theme data. That's gonna be better for you guys because if you want to change some colors, you'll be able to do it just here. And then we want to access the color scheme parameter. Okay, I'm just copying and pasting what I have. And here I have added my own colors, but you can add yours, okay? And then you can access those colors. I'm gonna show you how, but that's pretty convenient because then, yes, well, of course, that's gonna make it very easy for us to, instead of using those colors, theme is gonna do our work for us. So the background color here, I just wanna say theme dot of context dot color scheme dot background, and it's gonna be white, okay? Perfect. So our scaffold, let's deal with our scaffold. So we are gonna have a single child scroll view as a child. Oh la la, yeah, child. Can't I have a child? No, body, sorry. Yeah, body. Single child scrolled view, okay. Then I'm gonna say sized box as a child, a sized box that's gonna take the height of the screen. So media query dot of context dot size dot height. Okay, perfect. And on top of that, we're going to create this effect that I have going on right here. So let's create this kind of effect. So now I want a child and I want a stack. Okay. A stack takes some children parameters. Okay. And for those children, I'm going to create first the first one. So I'm going to align it and access the align parameter. Okay. Alignment parameter. And I'm going to say that it's going to be alignment directional. And here I'm going to say 20 and minus 1.2. I've already created the UI. That's why I'm moving a bit faster on it. But yeah, and I know the coordinates that I need to put. But yeah, you can tweak it around if you want. But you see, it makes more sense. Container. A container, a height that I'm going to say that is equal to, not that, sorry, the media query dot width, because I want a square, and the width is going to be equal to the same, exactly the same width. Okay, perfect. Now we want a decoration. Okay, so for containers, it's going to be a box decoration. Okay, I want to say that the shape is going to be a circle and the color is going to be the ternary colors. Dot color scheme dot ternary. Save that. Okay, we have a big circle in our app. And now you're going to ask yourself, how on earth are you going to make that look like this? Wait for it, it's coming. So we actually have 3 layers. So we are going to copy that 3 times, okay? But now they just stack on top of each other. You can't see them. So I'm just going to squeeze around those parameters right here. So first I want this one, and then I want this one. Up. Okay, good. But now I want to tweak the size. So the size is not going to be this width, but it's going to be 1.3 divided by 1.3. Okay, and same for this one right there. Save that. Okay, now the colors. So the first one is a ternary. The second one is secondary, and the third one is going to be primary. Okay, see what we have right here? This primary, this secondary, and this is the ternary. Okay, so 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Okay, perfect. So now I want to add what's called a backdrop filter because I want this blur effect. Okay, so backdrop filter, up, and I'm gonna filter it to 100%. So I'm gonna say here, image filter dot blur, and here I'm gonna say that the sigma x is gonna be equal to 100, and the sigma y is gonna be equal to 100 as well. And if I save that, nothing's happening. You know why? Because for the backdrop filter to work, you actually need a child. And here we're going to say that it's going to be a container. Okay. And we're just going to say that the container is going to be Yeah, just like this. And just like this, guys, you have this wonderful effect that I really, really like. And I think it's really cool. I think it's really, really cool. Yeah, so that's the thing done. So now we are gonna deal with our tab bar, okay? So under the backdrop filter, I'm gonna align alignment again. So same widget as this one. Here was custom, but in the alignment widget, you can as well take the alignment widget, and you have some pre done stuff. And here I'm gonna access the bottom center. Up, let me go up so you can see more. As a child, I'm gonna do a size box. The height is gonna be the media query dot of context dot size dot height, and I'm gonna divide that by 1.8. Okay, nothing is happening because there is no colors or anything, but wait for it. Be patient, it's coming. The child parameter of this size box is gonna be a column. Okay, the column takes a children parameter, and here are gonna be our different stuff. So first I want to be to do our tabs. Okay, so I'm gonna add some padding. Up, and this padding is gonna be a edge inset dot symmetric horizontal 50. Okay, for the padding, that's fine. And now the child is gonna be our tab bar. Tab bar. Okay, good. So the tab bar takes a few parameters, a controller. Remember, we've created it. It's called tab controller. Okay. And it takes as well some colors here. I'm gonna actually copy them because unselected label color. Okay, so it's our theme of context color scheme background on background, but I tuned down the opacity of it. So basically it's just a light black, huh? And the label color, so once one is selected, it's gonna be black. And the tab bar widget actually takes some tabs, which is the core essence of it. And for a little bit the process, I'm just gonna copy paste those things. So we have the sign in and we have the sign up. You've seen that already. No need for me to go ahead and do it with you. Okay, it's not happy. Wait, second. Up. Why aren't you happy? Yeah, I know where you're not happy. Okay, because well, if you use this kind of tab bar, we need then to actually make the screen themselves actually filled with something. So here, expanded, because we wanted to fill up the remaining space. Okay, and we are gonna call the widget that's called tab bar view. Tab bar view right here. Up, let me scroll up. This tab bar view is taking the same controller of our tab bar. Wow, sorry, what did I do? Controller, the tab controller it takes. And then, of course, it takes children's. And here we're gonna have two screens. But first, before creating those screens, I'm just gonna return two containers and that's gonna be fine. Okay, let me try to rebuild that. Yes, good. We have our sign in and we have our sign up. See, that's working amazing. Okay, good. So now we are going to create actually our two sign in and sign up screen, right? To have those, like on the UI, those fields right there. Okay, so under oath, we're going to create a new file and we're going to call it sign in screen.dart, and we're going to create another file while we're at it, sign up screen.dart. Okay, so those two files, let's first create the sign in and then we'll create the sign up. So the sign in file, it's going to be a stateful widget. I can tell you that much. Sign in screen. Okay, so the sign in screen has quite a few parameters as widget parameters. I'm just going to copy paste them. Okay, so you have, let me work you through them, a password controller. an email controller. That's for the two text fields that we're going to create. Text form fields, a forum key controller for the form itself, a boolean to display a circular progress indicator instead of the button when you click on login, an icon when you click onto the little icon on the password to see the password itself, and some error message and stuff. But that's okay for now. So here we want to return a form, okay? And I'm not really going in too much detail with the BLoC and all this right now. We'll go through that later. So here we have a key, and this is the form key that I have right here, okay? And now we have a column, okay, that takes some children. And here, because we are gonna have a few text fields, okay, I want to actually create my own custom text field, all right? So under auth, right here, I'm gonna create a new folder, components, okay? And under this components folder, I'm gonna create my text field.dart. Okay, my text field.dart. And so my text field.dart, what is it? Well, it's a class that I'm going to call my text field. And it's going to extend stateless widget like this. Perfect. Okay. So quite a few parameters I want here. So it's basically, I'm just creating my custom text field because I want to access different kind of parameters and I don't want to access all of the parameters from the text field. So all of those parameters are text field parameters, okay? I just want to have them right here so I can either have them or not in the text field that I have, okay? So don't be like going crazy about it because that's really just straightforward. And what do I want right here? Well, I need to override the build method now. Okay, the build method right here. And here, what do we want to return? Well, we want to return, if you followed right, you would have said it, a text form field. I want to return a text form field. And here, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy paste what I have. And it's just because it's the way I like the design, okay? So I'm, for each of those parameter, giving it the class parameter that's already there, okay, that I've created. And for the decoration, I'm creating my own kind of decoration. So it's the same everywhere, okay? And that allows me here in the sign-in screen to be able to call my text field directly here. So as a children, I'm gonna say size box, and here the width is going to be equal to media query dot of context dot size dot width, and I'm going to say that it's just going to be 0.9. And here as a child, I'm going to call my text field, okay? And my text field takes so many parameters, but some of them are mandatory, right? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy what I have and paste it right here, and I'm going to walk you through it. Okay, so what do we have? So that's for the email, okay? So the validator, we can come to that a bit later. Yes, I was wondering why is it not actually doing anything. Here, sign-in screen inside our welcome screen instead of our container. That will be better. Let's make that a constant. Okay, refresh. Yeah, yay, we have it right here. Okay, so perhaps I want to add a little size box at the top right here, so we have a little bit of spacing. Okay, good. There is a problem with the icon, but I've experienced that a few times. I need to import actually manually now the Cupertino icons. If perhaps some of you knows what's happening, just please tell me because I have no idea. But perhaps it's mandatory now to import the package itself. Perhaps it is. Yeah, now it works. So what do we have? My text field widget takes a controller, right? So it's this controller. Takes a hint text. Here is email, okay? Obscure text, false. We want to see the text. Keyboard input, well, it's going to be an email address, so that. The prefix icon, we want one. It's going to be this, the email. If there is an error message, it's going to be this error message right here. And the validator, I want to validate the fact that it's actually an email. So if the value is empty, I want to say, please fill in this field. And if the value doesn't match this reject expression, I want to say, please enter a valid email. And you're going to ask me, what is this reject expression? Well, I'm going to show it to you right now. Up. Tac, tac. This is the reject expression to check if this is an email. Okay, I'm just going to save that. Okay, that's good. So we want to do kind of the same thing for the password, right? So we're just going to have to add a little size box as a divider, and we're going to do the same for the password. So I'm just going to take it because really it's just repeating code right here. There is no really good value to it. I'm just going to walk you through that in just a second. So the password reject expression is a bit more complex this time because I'm actually making it a little different. Okay, I'm going to walk you through that. So the width is the same. If I save that, okay, the width is the same. My text field controller, this time is the password controller. The hint text is password, as you can see right here. Obscure text, I want to say to pass the obscure password, that is this one, okay, the boolean, because if I click on this, like by default I don't see it, but if I click here, I want to be able to see it, okay, and the icon changes, okay. So the keyboard type is going to be visible password. The prefix icon is going to be the lock right here. The message is going to be the message itself. The validator, if it's empty, same. If it doesn't fit this long reject expression, I want to return, please enter a valid password. And this reject expression actually is just to check if your password is like 8 characters long, contains an uppercase, a lowercase, a number, a special character, and I think that's it. But yeah, so far so good. And then we have a suffix icon, which is this, okay? And we have an icon button then, which when we press it, we are setting the true value to this obscure text to true or to false, okay? And changing the icon itself right here, okay? Very straightforward. And the icon password, perfect. Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's pretty much it for the sign-in screen. Perhaps we need now to be able to actually type on the thing. So let's create our button, okay? So the button is gonna be, well, let me just add a little divider first under this sized box right here, okay? And here I'm gonna utilize the sign-in required. I'm just gonna take that, okay, up and paste that here. Okay, good. So let me walk you through that. I'm just copy pasting because we are already an hour and 28 minutes in, and we have more to do. So it's just gonna be easier for now. So if I save that, you'd see we have a sign in button right here. So I'm just giving a size box with the width that I want for my button. Okay, if I change that, it's gonna be a larger button. Okay. Then as a child, a text button with an onPress method that we are going to create after. We didn't create this block yet, okay? But first I'm checking if the form key.current state is validate, right? Because if I click right now, it's not, okay? So because this is not the right valid password and this field is empty. See, our validators were triggered, okay? So that, and then it's just a matter of styling the button, okay, right there. And as a child of the text button, it's the text widget itself for the sign in with some styling as well. And let's say if the sign in required is false, okay, I display the button. If sign in required is true, I'm gonna return a circular progress indicator right here, okay? So now our sign in screen is done. We want to do kind of the same thing for the sign up screen, okay? So what I propose you guys is I'm actually gonna take the sign up screen and I'm gonna copy paste it, and I'm gonna walk you through the code, and you can go see on GitHub the actual code itself. Okay, so here up, tac. Yes, sign up block. The sign up block is not gonna work now, but we can create that later on. Okay, so up, just 2 seconds. Yep. So we have some errors because here we didn't create that block yet. We will create it. My text field we need to import. And then we have another errors right here. Special character regex. Yes. It's this one. Let me just take that. Okay. We have another errors right here. Password reject. Okay, it's this. And lastly, email reject. It's this one. Okay, gonna save that. And here onto the welcome screen, I'm just gonna say constant for now, sign up screen. Okay. Let me reload everything. I will walk you through that. And then we have right here, okay, we have exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. So we have two controllers, actually three controllers, the email, the password, and for the name, okay? A form key, okay, for our form right here, okay, to see if it's validated. That's so far so good. Obscure password, same thing with the button right here. If the sign up is required this time, okay, same. Then we have a series of Boolean. It's for those parameter because I found it useful for the user if he knows the kind of password that he needs to input, right? And it's actually dynamic here. So you need all of those things, but as you are incrementing those, you see that they are getting a green. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, like this. So what do we have then? Same stuff for the sign-in. A form with a column, the first size box that deal with the email, okay, this. Then we have another size box with another my text field that deals with the password, okay? And here we have every time that the password change, so the on change, if it contains, well, an uppercase, it's gonna set state the bool of uppercase and put this one green, okay? So that's what this onChange method is doing right there, okay? Okay. Then we have a suffix icon as well. And here we have the row with all of our different text here, and it's green if the bool is right, otherwise it's black, okay? So that's what we have here, okay? Pretty straightforward. And then we have the size box with the my text field for the name, okay? The name controller. And then same logic, we have our button that is going to actually create the user with the sign up block, okay? Same ideas, really same ideas. If you understood the sign-in screen, you'll understand the sign-up screen. It's a bit more complex, but it's really straightforward. So I hope you guys had the time to perhaps do some pause to the video in order for you to create the screen. I'm just gonna go through it slowly. The reject expression, they are right here, okay? Okay. This reject expression as well. Okay. But you can access all that through the GitHub, okay? So let's move on now because we are running out of time. So the last thing that we need to do is actually create now the blocks, the sign-in block and the sign-up block, okay? Those are two very straightforward blocks and I want to create them fast. So let's close our UI. sign up block, event, state, and block. Up, sign in. Sign up first. Okay. So the sign up block. Up. We have the event that is going to be sign up required. Okay. Same thing as always. Creating a new event, sign up required. Okay, just gonna import our user repository. We take my user and we take a password. Makes sense so far. Okay, now let's create our states. So now it's not going to be the same kind of class as for the authentication. We're just going to stay very simple and create three classes: success, failure, and process. Okay, process or loading, whatever you want to call it. Save that up. And now the sign up block itself, well, we're going to need a user repository as a class parameter. Okay. We are going to do exactly that. So we're going to require require this user repository parameter and actually setting our user repository parameter to this user repository. Okay, perfect. And then on sign up required, not sign up event, sign up required, what do we want to do? Well, we want to first emit sign up process, okay? And then into a try catch, we want to say that if there is an error, we want to say sign up failures, and then we want to access my user, say that it's going to be my user repository dot sign up, the method that we've already created, and we feed the sign up method with the event dot user and event dot password. Okay, they are here inside our event. Okay, then we want to set the user data to Firebase Firestore. Okay, and then emit sign up success. Okay, save that. For the sign up block, that's all there is to it, not much. Sign in block, even more simple. So let's open all of them and let's go create those. So sign in event, sign in required. Okay, no, that's in the States, sorry. Sign in event, up, sign in required, email and password. Okay, straightforward. We perhaps as well want to create, now that we are at it, sign out required. Okay, let's create the states. So sign in success, sign in failure, and sign in progress. Up, success, failure, we have a message. Okay, and in progress we have a message from Firebase Authentication, right? So either the password is wrong, the email is wrong, and we want to be able to display that to the user. And sign in process. And while we are at it, that's it. Up, create the block now. So the block, same, it's taking, you see, it's creating those kind of stuff can be really redundant if you know how to do it. So yeah, really create it once good and take a template, and then when you have project, and that's more if you are starting to do like some freelancing work and all this, you always need to have some like user and create this kind of authentication screen. So I'll really recommend like having a template so you don't have to go through that every time you start a project, because you're gonna get bored to hell. So the sign-in required block, it's right here, up, straightforward. First, we emit sign-in process, okay? Then try catch. So if there is an error on Firebase authentication exception, okay, if there is a Firebase authentication problem, we just take the message, okay, and display it to the user. Otherwise, it's just a simple sign-in failure. And here inside the try catch, we're accessing the sign-in method we've created from the user repository and passing him the email and the password. And if all goes good, sign-in success. That's all there is to it. While we are at it, let's create the on-sign-out method, perhaps. Yeah, I didn't create it, the logout method. Perhaps we can create that very, very fast. It's really not a big method. So you want to navigate to your Firebase user repository, and at the end here, let's create a method that's going to look something like this. Up, logout, straightforward. log out, save that, and add that to the user repo right here. Up, like this, straightforward. Up, up, come back to the sign-in block, and yeah, now that works. Okay, that's it for the sign-in block. Good. So now we can actually see if all of those stuff are working, but none of those things are going to work if we are not passing those blocks to the different screen that we have. So here onto the welcome screen, we're just passing the sign-in screen and the sign-up screen. But what we really want to be doing is actually passing up those two screens. Up, block provider. Let me import sign-in block. Let me import Flutter block. And let me import sign-up block. And don't say that this is constant. And let me import as well authentication block. So what are we doing here? So this is for the sign-in screen. Okay, we're just wrapping it up with a block provider of type sign-in block. Okay, opening our sign-in block, and the sign-in block need a user repository. Okay, and we are accessing the user repository that we have into our authentication block, so we don't create like 50 instances of Firebase user repository. Okay, we already have one in authentication block, so let's just go ahead and use that. And it's the exact same thing for the sign up screen. Okay, exact same thing. So if we hot reload, hot restart everything, and we actually try it out. So let's see. rom@gmail.com, test 1234, and name, I'm gonna call myself Rom. Sign up. Is there a problem? Up. Yeah, of course there is a problem. Sign up screen. Of course there is one. If you navigate down to the sign up screen to the button, you actually need to uncomment this. Okay, sign up. And we are just context.read of type sign up block and adding a new event that's called sign up required. Okay, and here remember at the very top of our sign up screen we had a block listener, right at the very top. I've deleted it, but I'm going to recreate that. A block listener, and we're going to add this. Okay, good. So our block listener is going to be of type sign up block. Okay, and here, what do we want to do? Well, we want to say if if the state is sign up success, sign up requires equal to false, and we pop that screen. Okay. Otherwise, yeah, we pop that screen. Actually, we don't need to pop anything because we don't need to pop anything. So yeah, that's it. Okay, perfect. So let me just hot reload everything and see. Perhaps in our sign-in screen right here, yes, we need to as well uncomment this method. It's in the button, right? In the text button, up, sign-in block, as well import Flutter block. We are adding this sign-in required event, okay, and passing it with the email controller.text and the password controller.text. Okay, that's all there is to it. Okay, so sign up. rom@gmail.com, password test 1234. Yep, rom. Well, welcome, you're in. Okay, and if we go to Firebase Authentication, let me refresh that. We have a new user that has been created, and if we go to Firestore, we have a new users class with the right ID and all the data right there. Right, perfect. That works amazing. Perhaps what we want to do is to, inside our app view here onto home screen, is actually wrap that with a block provider and of type sign in block. Yes, sign in block. Yeah. Sign in block takes a user repository that we access it in the context.read authentication block dot user repository. Okay, it's not constant. Perfect. And I'm doing all that because I just want to add on the home screen inside the app bar in the action I want to add an icon button and an onPress method to log out, just so we can try the sign in method. Icon Cupertino icons dot out. I need to import the package out. I don't know what it's called, perhaps just icons logout. Can we, yeah, logout, that will work perfect. And you need to actually say that it's an icon. Yes, perfect. And here I want to say context.read sign-in block dot add logout required, I think. Logout, I don't know how I called it, sign-in block event sign out required. Okay, sign out required. Okay, let me rebuild everything. And you see, when we're rebuilding everything, because we are logged in, we're staying on the home screen. If I click on the logout, up, I'm logged out. And if I try to sign in, let's see if that works. rom@gmail.com, test